type of legislation.
What's your name?
Yolanda Bennett.
Yolanda Bennett.
Yeah. And as far as proposing some legislation
You
to,
mind if I put this on you?
oh yeah,
Okay, your name is Yolanda Bennett.
yeah, Yolanda Bennett.
Okay, and so what do you do exactly?
Well, originally, I started my advocacy here for medical cannabis and realizing that quite a few patients have been arrested because of the law that was passed back in the day by, was it Sonny Perdue, and a lot of our cannabis allies were arrested and incarcerated. Knowing the background from where I did work as a correctional officer, I know that the state uses free labor, and free labor is wrong. And they have slavery. If they allow people with non-violent crimes or convictions to work in the governor's mansion, to work at GDC, all these other different places,
Right.
then they should have an opportunity to be free.
Right.
Let them go home.
Uh-huh.
What's the point of keeping them incarcerated, and plus the conditions there, not only from the officer's standpoint, off from the ones that are incarcerated. No one should have to die in a prison. They just had a riot down in Washington State Prison.
Correct.
And that comes from what? Lack of training. And the people, when I was trained as an officer, they trained us, it was us against them.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
I didn't realize until they incorporated more programs like the impact program with the dog program to allow the officers and the incarcerated to participate in this program, which changed the whole attitude.
Trajectory, yeah.
And so, but as far as looking at the conditions of the prisons, the food, horrible. To actually see rats dig into the grits and stuff that they're eating,
Right.
and the food that they do produce. And also they're creating a way for those who are incarcerated to be victimized because they only feed them twice a day on the weekends.
Right.
And the portions of the food is not enough.
Right.
And healthy foods is, no one should be treated that way. They're violating people's Eighth Amendment right.
Right.
And so anybody could get arrested. And then you have the officers, they're not making enough money. They're working multiple jobs, and have to look at it that aspect too.
Uh-huh.
And so that means they're probably going to bring in contraband, things like that. But as far as the ones that's incarcerated, you go ahead and correct those provisions, just like they did with Casey versus Seconder back in 1996.
Okay.
And so with that particular legislation, well, not legislation, that lawsuit, they were able to provide, um, healthcare facilities for those who are incarcerated, because back then they were pimping out those who were incarcerated in Hardwick.
Right.
So it's a whole thing. So basically, it's going back to Hardwick days. We don't want that. So, but anyway.
Right. Let me ask you a hypothetical question. If you had absolute control over the system right now, what 3 things would you change about it?
3 things I would change about it. Number 1, nonviolent offenders, go ahead and let them go. Find some type of program so they can go ahead and prevent recidivism. Also, those who are currently incarcerated, try to create some type of programs. They used to have programs involved where they can get their degrees and everything. And security. Security is the number one. Not only are you protecting the ones on the inside, you're protecting the ones that are on the outside too. The general public.
Okay.
So it's a multitude of things, but I don't know how many of that. But number 3, better conditions.
Right.
Stop violating their Eighth Amendment right, and treat them like people. Don't treat them like animals.
Right.
Give them time outside. They're so busy putting up cell phone blockers instead of putting up more conditions. You're spending all this money for cell phone blockers. What's the next thing? They're going to probably put cages for people dropping stuff off in zones.
Right.
So they just eventually get to the point to start treating people like animals, and they shouldn't do that.
What's the 8th Amendment?
The Eighth Amendment dealt with the conditions of the treatment of the person, as far as the facility, violence. Also, I can't quote it right now because I lost my train of thought. But the Eighth Amendment prevents the government from keeping you in harsh conditions like that, like in a concentration camp.
Right.
So the Fourth Amendment, I don't know, that goes away in prison because they're subjected to searching you there. So.
All right, another question. So at some point in time in the past, you were actually able, while you were incarcerated, to receive a college education,
Yes.
which would fundamentally reduce recidivism, which the state of Georgia has one of the highest percentages of. Why is that? Why did they take education out of the GDC?
I'm not sure, but I do remember that some years ago that once Casey versus Secondary, that particular case, I forgot the sexual misconduct type case, the federal lawsuit, the class action suit. I know after a while they were being audited every quarter, but then they stopped that. I forgot, it was like 2013 or 14, something like that. But it's going back to the way it is. As far as, no, they actually had Middle Georgia Tech was one of the ones that was part of the ones.
Middle Georgia Tech and North Georgia Tech as well.
Yeah. And so that right there would be very beneficial. Not only that, they do have those technical programs. They had the mobile construction, because they even work on cars, the
Yeah.
fleet management.
Yep.
And so if they're keeping up the facility and stuff like that, then why not create jobs for them? And not only that, they need to have their rights restored so they'll be able to vote when they get out. So it's a lot of things that you can add to it. So it's like, you did your time, let me out, allow me to vote.
Right.
So I can be a productive member of the citizen. And not only that, you can create some type of pathway to that, so that, create some type of program so
Right.
that, like, to get adjusted back to civilization, because once you're taken away, that's a lot. So
one more question. I know I keep saying one more question.
No problem.
The United States has the highest prison population in the world. We're not the highest populated country in the world, but we do have the highest prison population in the world. Why is that?
The reason why is set up to make money. You look at how slavery benefited the United States in the beginning, and they had to continue that movement moving forward, because look at Alabama. Alabama allowed their inmates to go out and work at the jobs,
Right.
and make menial pay, and then they're treating them worse out there. They do get paid. However, Georgia, those who are incarcerated in Georgia, they don't get paid, no money. And it's like they expect you to get, I think we used to have like cookouts. They give them a cookout like quarterly or whatever, whoever wins the inspection or whatever.
Right.
And so that's an incentive. However, you're able to slide by with that particular incentive for those who are incarcerated versus trying to create some type of program outside of that. So it's like, I guess it's kind of like slavery on Sundays back in the day.
No.
Where on Sundays, like, they gave them the day off to go to church and worship.
We get dressed up. We put on our Sunday's best, and so if I don't want to use your words, but it's almost like it's a business.
It is.
And it's, as slavery in 1865, slavery is supposedly done, but as slavery decreases, then the prison population begins to increase.
Exactly. And it depends on who you are, because even inside the institution, even in there, they do have a hierarchy. Because
Right.
if you can buff the floor real good, you're gonna be one of the top team. I'm just saying, you can buff the floor,
it's true.
and you don't cause no problems. I mean, like I said, I look back when I was there and how they trained us. They go ahead and get the young candidates fresh out of high school, trying to get a step, but they're not really and truly training them totally of how to deal with people in real life situations. Because I was, what they taught me, firm and fair, treated everybody the same, got them what they needed. However, didn't mistreat them. Why? Because you treat them, the punishment is time away from the family. The punishment shouldn't be the facility, as far as the conditions of the facility. The punishment shouldn't be the food.
Right.
It's like, look, I'm away from home. Treat me decent. I'm a person.
Right.
And I am for body cams for the officers.
Right.
So I do have some legislation here they're trying to get pushed as far as body cams for correctional officers.
All right. 2 more questions. Okay, so right now there's a gang infestation.
I heard about it.
And it's causing violence to increase rapidly. How do we fix this? What are some solutions in reference to reducing the live losses? Right now, you're more likely to lose your life in general population than you are on death row. How do we fix that?
How you fix it?
Yeah.
More training.
Okay.
Take that money that they're paying the big wigs, the commissioners, get someone in there that actually cares. Create a review board as far as citizen review boards outside of that, to where whether I know that whether the governor appoints the people for the different committees, however, it needs to be a citizens review board to keep accountability outside, or even a third party outside that's not contracted with the private prison sector, because we have all the private prison sectors that's here now.
Right.
With the private prison sectors here, I think what is it, like four? And if it's like four that's here now, that means what? That means that they're here to make money.
Right.
You have to look at who donated from the private prisons to the legislators. I saw some of the House representatives, some of the chairmen, they've all gotten a piece of that money. And they do have some legislation right now that's trying to keep people from whistleblowing so that you can't look up the information. That's SB 27. I don't know if they tacked that SB 27 onto that other bill last year, to where they can go ahead and look into your Google browser without a subpoena. I think that was either HB 161 or 151 that passed last year, signed into law. So it's a lot that they're trying to set us up to take away our voices.
If people are listening and they wanna help, or they want to get in contact with you, how would they go about in doing so?
They can. I'm known as the herbal trucker all the way around. Outside of my nonprofit organization, I do work other legislation as far as civil rights. Just care about the world,
Right.
because number one, it's that, what's that, by the grace of God, there go I.
Right.
And if you keep that mindset, you can look at people for who they are,
Right.
versus what they have been accused. Because you have to look at also the public defender's office. Where's that funding come? They need to appropriate funds so that people won't plea out. Then you're adding other tests that have not been proven, just like the accuracy test when it comes to trying to judge and see whether or not you're intoxicated with cannabis.
Right.
So that's a subjective test, just like smell, just like HB 496 to stop that too. That's Representative Jasmine Clark's bill.
Yeah.
That particular bill right there is to protect you from the fourth. That's your Fourth Amendment, and also from them welcome searches, basically on the Senate cannabis.
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
All right. I appreciate your time. It was nice talking to you.
Nice
I'm
talking
gonna
to
grab this. I love your sweater.
Oh,
You'll find it
thank
somewhere.
Man, eBay. I got this on eBay.
Okay.
$23.
Okay then.
So anyway.
All right. Take it easy.
Yeah.
All right.